Well, the same old question every single offseason. What is next for the Utah Jazz? Well, with the firing of Quinn Snyder, I have a feeling that this is going to be a pretty spicy offseason here for the Utah Jazz. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel today. As you can tell, we have a Utah Jazz video for you guys. If you guys want me to make more Jazz content, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment down below. But I have a feeling, and this is something that we talked a little bit today on my NBA show. We talk about this. We've talked about it for like a week, ever since Quinn Snyder got fired. The Jazz have some things they need to address. And number one, I'll start off with their perimeter defense. For some reason, their perimeter defense just the last several years has never been good. If it's good, it's not great. If it's good, it's like barely adequate. Every single postseason, they get exposed with their lack of perimeter depth on the defensive end. And the reason being, not offensively, because the reason being, when you have such a big man in Rudy Gobert who can't offensively stretch the floor for you, he can't do anything outside of 5 feet from the bucket, from the rim, you need to surround him with shooters, so you can't just collapse your whole entire defense onto Rudy Gobert because they don't have shooters that are going to make you pay for double teams and triple teams and just trapping in general. Quinn Snyder is a good basketball coach. All right, he's a solid basketball coach. But what we saw in his tenure with Utah was his lack of ability to kind of out-coach, if you will. Like, he's a good X's and O's guy, but when shit hits the fan, is he a coach you can rely on to make the proper adjustments, to scheme for the proper things, to give your team an edge? I just never really felt like in the postseason the Utah Jazz had that coaching edge over some of the good basketball minds, like maybe like Greg Popovich. Probably isn't the best example, but you can tell, Quinn Snyder doesn't stand a chance at out-coaching Greg Popovich in the playoffs, in my opinion. But like I said, he's a good coach. I think a good portion of what is next for the Utah Jazz relies on who's their next coach going to be, and that's going to be a discussion for a different day. They have two guys that are those dudes. Donovan Mitchell, who has 3 years left on his contract, and Rudy Gobert, who has 3. They both have 3 with player options. Rudy Gobert is getting paid this next season $38 million, then the year after that $41 million, and the year after that $43 million. By the time the years go on and on and on and on and on and on, the thing is, nobody is going to want that contract. I would imagine as good, I know he's a depoy, I know he's a really solid player, but if he were to fade in the slightest, if Rudy Gobert fades in the slightest, that contract is going to be so not enticing. Rudy Gobert might go to a team like the Raptors, the Bulls. The NBA is in a point of time right now, in my opinion, where it's pretty wide open. LeBron's getting older. Somebody needs to step up. Giannis got taken down this season with Chris Middleton being out, or with or without Chris Middleton, I think they still would have lost. But anyways, different topic. The NBA is wide open right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if a team, I know the Bulls are already showing interest in Rudy Gobert, but teams like the Bulls, like the Hawks, not the Pistons, the Raptors, teams that are close to making that jump, and maybe Rudy Gobert defensively, because he's such a stud, maybe he gets them to that next level. If I'm the Jazz, there's not a shot in hell I'm trading Mitchell for the start. Maybe I would trade Mitchell if the team is just clearly doggy next season, and a lot of that's going to depend on the offseason that they have here. But if the Jazz suck at the deadline, maybe that's when you deal Donovan Mitchell off. But I wouldn't be in a rush to trade D-Mitch because he's super talented, and he's on, I think, for a star player, I think he's on a reasonable contract. Rudy Gobert, not a reasonable contract. So I would 100% trade Rudy Gobert. Something that Jazz fans might not like is I would 100% trade Mike Conley. I would probably get rid of Bojan Bogdanovic as well. I keep Clarkson, Royce, Nikhil definitely, but I would definitely be shipping out most of these players because, to me, Bojan, Mike Conley, they're good basketball players. Conley's a good playmaker. He helps kind of hide Gobert's offensive issues, or lack of offense, I should say. But really, what it boils down to is Conley, Bogdanovic, they haven't been working out. They just haven't been working out. I would clear almost the entire house except for guys like Royce O'Neal, guys who can like play defense on the perimeter. Mike Conley at this point in his career, what kind of return are you going to get for him? I'm not a GM. I can't tell you. He's making a little over $20 million, so it's not the worst contract. It's like a Freddie contract. So, maybe for a team that's trying to get, into championship contender status, maybe you make a run at Mike Conley, maybe you make a run at Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich's last season will be next year, so he's going to have a little bit less value with making, 19.5 next season. I think where the Jazz really need to improve this team is, like I said, you trade your big-ass dudes. You trade the guys that just aren't helping you get anywhere. They're just not They're not moving the needle. Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Gobert, and Bogdanovich. To me, those guys are gone. I would trade those guys because they're just not moving the needle for me. What I would target are defensive perimeter players who can stretch the floor, because maybe they're not going to be able to trade Gobert. Maybe trading Gobert isn't even the issue. Maybe the issue is everybody else, not named Mitchell and Gobert. But it seems like that relationship is too far gone. One day you'll hear a report that they can't stand each other. One day you'll hear a report that it's like 60-40, they can live with each other. So who knows what's going on with the Gobert-Mitchell relationship. But I would target guys like the Golden State Warriors right now, with what they do with Otto Porter Jr. Otto Porter Jr., if he's healthy, dude's in his prime. He kind of has gotten completely forgotten about because now you're seeing him a little bit more because he's a role bench player on the Warriors. But this is a starter. Otto Porter Jr. can start basketball games. He's versatile on offense by playing a couple different positions. He's very versatile on defense, being able to guard several different players, several different positions, several types of players. So I would target a cat like Otto Porter Jr. In fact, I would target Otto Porter Jr. If you can find more guys like Otto, find more guys like Royce O'Neal that are going to help you spread the floor, I would make some moves playmaking-wise. If you're going to be getting rid of Conley, maybe they'll get that back in return in the trade. But Otto Porter Jr., he's a nice complementary piece that is going to play nicely with Donovan Mitchell. And if you still have Gobert, then you're looking at that. He'll play fine with Gobert because he can play defense and he can stretch the floor, and that's what you need with Gobert. So 40% three-point shooter, I'm looking at Otto Porter Jr. I saw an article where they're talking about, I think, DeAndre Hunter and Delon Wright. So maybe, just maybe, there's some way you can get in a trade, whether it would be Clint Capella / John Collins, Delon Wright's in there, DeAndre Hunter. The way I view the Hawks are, like I was just talking about, they probably want a player like Gobert because they want to level up. They want to turn back into contenders like they were 2 seasons ago when they made the Eastern Conference Finals, which in my opinion was a total fluke. But I'm not trying to rag on them because they're on the right track. They just need more star power. They need more firepower. They need more oomph for when you get into the playoffs. So maybe there's a trade to be worked out there because Delon Wright makes a ton of sense. He can shoot the three. He can play great defense. He can pass. He can play a couple different positions. He can guard a couple different positions. He was like a low-key gem whenever he checked in the playoffs, for especially defensively. So I think Delon Wright is money. DeAndre Hunter is a little interesting because this was a guy who was averaging close to 20 points per game before he got injured 2 years ago. And then when he came back for the last couple of games of the season, it was the last couple of games of the season, and he missed, 60 games, 50 games, or what have you. So those are 2 players that I think you would be able to get from the cheap for him. And maybe you'd be able to just ship off Gobert's contract, pair him with, whether it's going to be Collins, whether it's going to be Capella. Maybe that's how you unload Rudy Gobert's fat contract. So I think those are really enticing. But Utah, to me, it's going to be I think what I would do if I was Utah is almost retool in this offseason. Like I said, I'll trade cats like Conley. I'll trade cats like Bogdanovich and Gobert. Get the players you want back. Players who are going to help Donovan Mitchell. Players who Donovan Mitchell can help. Players who are just going to work together. Essentially what you wanted with the Utah Jazz, but more defensively based. DeAndre Hunter, Delon Wright, et cetera, right? So that's my thinking. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Hit that like button, hit that sub button if you want more Jazz content. Like I said, I make daily NBA videos, so if you want more Jazz offseason content, because I have a feeling due to the money, the new media agreement, I have a feeling this is going to be a very quiet offseason, but I don't think it's going to be a quiet offseason for the Jazz. So that's it. Peace.